to my kitchen. I'm Steve, and on this episode of Cooking with Love, I'm going to be making an Irish recipe, a Dublin Coddle. Now, if you don't know, a Dublin Coddle is sort of like a stew. It consists of Irish sausages called bangers, potatoes and onions, baked in a Dutch oven. And it's really a very traditional recipe. It has its origins going all the way back to the 1700s. At that time, the poor people, poor farmers, would take whatever little scraps of bacon or sausage they'd have left over and put it into a pot with boiled potatoes, basically, and that would become a meal. Over the years, though, it has become more of a comfort food, and there's no right way to make Dublin Coddle. There's as many recipes for coddle as there's probably people in Dublin, Ireland. There's no right or wrong. Now, what I'd like to do with our coddle for when I make it for our family is I leave the sausages whole. Some people will cut them into pieces. I like to brown the sausages ahead of time. Some people will just put them into the Dutch oven without browning. I like to use a waxy potato rather than a starchy potato, and you use a broth. Now, originally they just used water, but over the years people have used a beef broth or chicken broth, or some people even use cider. And again, it's a personal preference thing. So I'm going to be showing you the recipe that my family likes. My father-in-law absolutely loves Dublin Coddle, so I'm going to show you the way I make it. All right, let's get started. The ingredients we need to make our Dublin Coddle are Irish sausages. These are called bangers, and they're an all-pork sausage, and then Irish rashers, which is a type of bacon. Sometimes it's hard to get this. If you don't have an import store like an Irish or a UK import store near you, they are available online, but you can substitute any good pork sausage for this. I would just avoid using a pork sausage that's smoked. And then for the bacon, you could substitute Canadian bacon. That works well. We're going to need onions. I have 2 large ones or 3 smaller ones. Some potatoes. Now, the potatoes that I chose today are the Yukon Gold. Waxy potatoes do better in this dish. They hold up really well to the long cooking time. So I would avoid starchy potatoes like russet. We need some beef broth, some fresh parsley, and some butter for frying. Now, the first step is going to be to prepare the vegetables. So I'm going to take our potatoes, peel them, and I'm going to cut them very thickly. And then I'm going to slice up our onions. And let's start putting this together. The vegetables are prepared. And next I'm heating up our Dutch oven, and I'm going to add a little bit of butter. And we're going to start by frying our rashers. Now, the traditional way of making the Dublin Coddle is not to fry the bacon and the sausages, but just to put them into the pot. But then they come out very blonde and not very appealing looking. So even though it's not traditional, I like to fry them up first to give them some color. I'm going to add our rashers, and we're just going to fry these till they start to take on some color. Then we're going to add the onions. Our bacon is starting to cook down. Next, I'm going to add the onions. And we want to cook the onions until they just become translucent. I'm just going to season this with a little bit of pepper. I'm not going to add salt because the bacon is pretty salty. Our onions are cooked down. We're going to remove them from the pot and set them aside. I'm going to add some more butter to the pan. And I'm going to add the sausages now to brown them up. and they're cooking on medium-low heat. I just want to give some color. The sausages are starting to brown up nicely. I'm going to turn the oven on to 300 degrees and let it preheat now. I'm happy with the sausages now. I'm going to turn off the heat and remove the sausages and set them aside. It's time to start assembling the coddle. First step is we're going to take about half of our onion and bacon mix and spread it over the bottom of the pan. We're going to add half of the sausages. And then we're going to add about half of the sliced potatoes. And as you can see, I slice these potatoes. They are anywhere from quarter to half-inch thick. So we're going to add a layer of potatoes on top. Now we're going to season this. A little bit of pepper. Salt if you want it, but between the sausage and the bacon and then my beef broth is salted. I think we're going to have enough salt in it. I'm going to put some of the cut up chopped parsley. And we're going to do another layer with some more bacon and onion. The rest of the sausage. And the rest of the potatoes. The parsley. A little more pepper. And now our beef broth. And you want the beef broth to come up at least halfway. Next, I'm going to turn the heat back on. And I want to bring that beef broth up to a boil before we put it into the oven. The broth has started to boil. So I'm going to cover this. And then this goes in the oven for 2 to 3 hours. I'm going to check it in 2 hours and just make sure that it doesn't need more broth put in. The Dublin Coddle is finished. I cooked for about 2 hours. I checked it. The potatoes were nice and tender. So I removed the cover, placed it back in the oven under the broiler, just to brown the top of the potatoes a little bit. Now it's time for the taste test. Sausages are incredibly tender. Potatoes also very tender. They're flavored with the bacon and the onion. Really delicious. Give this recipe a try. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. It's great comfort food. This is great if you want to make some Irish brown soda bread. It goes perfect with this dish. We'll see you on the next episode.